Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of appreciation to Abraham Mohammed, Adam, Adrian Quintana, Alistair Main, Blue Ridge Ranger, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As the Earth, Chow Young Cat, Chris Hillman, another new one. I think I said hello to you for the first time yesterday, but very nice to have you as a Patreon, Chris Hillman. Dank, Dave Rackio Gafford, David Robinson, David Wayne Foster, Does Studio 68, Edwin Johnson, Owen Jennisons, Felix Hung, Fireball X, God Rockin', Henrik 86, Kirsten Smith, Liam Nedrick, Life is Short, Maria Neelands, Matt, Missouri Bear, NA Literalist, Nagara, Nathan Thompson, Naibai, Skeptic936, Rob H, Steve ALM, Texas Mike, The Real Gabster, Tina Baker, Unbelievable Productions, and Windrider. So a massive shout out, thanks and appreciation to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now we are joined by a couple of people in the G Plus Hangout together with a few people in Discord, so I'll leave you with their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Yeah, I'm seeing the video now. This reminds me of, Mark Sargent?
Yeah.
He says if you, look at the skies in infrared, you see all kinds of other things up there. I wonder if that's, really true. Has anybody verified that?
Yeah, no, not only is it true, it's true without the infrared. So it's just cutting through the light pollution. So my folks used to live in a part of England that had the lowest light pollution. It was right on the Welsh border in a part of the country called Shropshire. And it literally was the least light polluted place in the country. And you could look up without any additional infrared or goggles of any description, just with your naked eye, and see things flying around, all sorts of crazy stuff, shooting stars, and they'd happen frequently. So, because I only know this because my folks had a hot tub there, so they had a guest house that they rented out, and part of it was a hot tub. So when it was vacant, obviously we'd go and get free holidays there. And we'd sit in the hot tub, and you turn off all the lights, your eyes would adjust to the darkness, and you would see amazing things in the sky. Just absolutely, I've taken my telescope up to the same place and done all sorts of stuff up there in that regard, but the best by far thing you can, or in my opinion, the best thing I did up there was literally just let your eyes get adjusted to the very low levels of light and see what's actually going on up there. And I suspect that putting the goggles on is just a way of achieving that without having to go and find the least light polluted place in your particular neck of the woods.
Well, that's interesting info.
Yeah, when Arwen was describing shooting stars going up, I've seen that several times, as has my wife. We sit there and we've noted it and said, isn't that interesting? It's going away from the horizon, going up, and then disappearing. Makes no sense, but that's what it's doing.
Oh yeah, that's right. They say it never goes down towards the horizon or something like that.
No, I've seen both. No, there's all sorts of stuff going on. I can't underexpress how much stuff there's going on. And it looks like you're seeing further. Whenever you're looking at anything in the night sky and you've got really low levels of light, the perception you have, or at least the mental construct that I impose on what I could see, was that it was further away. You're seeing further. Now, I don't know if that's obviously the case or not. What I do know is that more lights were visible the longer I spent in the darkness. And the more that was visible, the more you could see not only things appearing, but things moving.
Do you see weird things like zigzags and not just going in one direction kind of thing?
No, more akin to what, when my wife was sat next to me, she'd say, well, that must be a satellite. And I'm like, definitely not, based on where they claim these things are. I'm not saying I saw any zigzaggy, haphazard UFO-style movements in the sky. They just looked like lights moving along at a reasonably steady rate in various directions. But like I say, my wife was like, they're satellites. I'm like, no, you can't see a satellite at those distances. Now, what they might have been was low altitude balloons, for all I know. I don't know what they were, but there was plenty of stuff moving around. Is my point.
Yeah. Sounds interesting. So your folks had a nice hot tub where they can view the heavens, nice and clear. Sounds nice.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you can get that. You can get that in my local town if I drive out, I don't know, a couple of miles and there's no street lamps, and I can achieve 80% as good. Yeah, it's not. The last 20% is the bit where you're getting everything I'm describing. But there we go. That's just the way it goes. But I can drive out and get a reasonably good view of things. I mean, things like the constellations. Many people have probably never even looked at them and don't appreciate how enormous they are, how much of the sky they actually take up. But if you don't look, you don't know, right? You don't appreciate how they're moving if you're never watching them for any prolonged period. If you just glance at the stars now and again, that's not, it's not going to give you any idea of what they're actually doing.
Yeah, that's right. Like before, I never used to look at the moon like I look at it now. I'm like, oh my goodness.
It's good to hear.
Looking at the skies, yeah.
But I was always looking at the skies, and when before Flat Earth, in other words, at least I thought I had a good grasp on what the heliocentric explanation was for the stars. I still looked up and went, wow, what the hell are they? Because there's a certain element of wonder that's left within the heliocentric paradigm and their fairy tale, and probably for that very reason, so that when you do actually look at them and go, wow, you're not going, wow, what a load of nonsense, but just wow, because there's, the paradigm has them at vast distances, so you're not expected to know what they are or anything along those sort of lines, so you can be left with a sense of wonderment even if you are in a heliocentric paradigm.
Yeah.
Did you see the video I set up on my channel about the star trails, Nathan?
I didn't. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's what I was telling Righteous before you came on. So I've got a 2-minute, 22-second rendition of all the star trails that I've had on my P900.
Is that what Righteous is playing?
Correct.
I've got it up.
He's playing it already. Let me go look.
Yep, it's playing. People can see it.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
This is done with a P900, right?
Yeah, it's all the P900.
Wow, that looks really good with the skyline. Top work. Hey, Adam.
Afternoon, guys.
Hang on, what day is it?
Hey, Adam.
Oh, it's Thursday. How come you were here yesterday?
I just popped in to say hello because I had 5 minutes at work, so I just stuck my head in. I was going to say just to see if you noticed you'd got the video.
I played it.
You hadn't responded, so but you were nattering and I had to get back to work. So
I see. No, I hadn't. You didn't even get to ask me on the last show, so no, it's gone out now. So good timing, as the intro's been tagged onto the Uncut and After show, so now it's going out with the new intro. I've also ordered some sound editing stuff, so something that's bugged me, it's just lack of finances, but as soon as I got this month's Patreon check, I'm like, right, I know what I'm spending that on. So I bought some bass traps and some diffusers and absorbers of various different sizes, and I'm going to dot them all over the lounge. My studio, let's rephrase that, all over the studio. And hopefully it'll improve it. Now, to be honest, the mic's pretty good, but nonetheless, I'm reasonably fussy about these things. It's something that's bugged me for a long time, ever since I've redecorated this room, that it's very echoey, because there's nothing on the walls. It's just like bare painted walls. But I'll hopefully resolve
those
that.
plaques you bought.
Again?
Have you got them already? The hexagony pattern plaques?
Oh, yes, I did show you the designs, right, in Ballbusters. No, they haven't come yet. I've ordered, I can't remember how many, a few. I've spent a bit of money, but hopefully they'll come in the next 10 days, I would hope. It's not a quick process. They've actually got to manufacture them, as far as I'm aware. Is that the end when we see the north? When we see the compass?
Yes. I was gonna say, like, did you travel the world to capture these? Because they all look like from different positions.
Well, it's on my property, and I'm on different positions on my property.
So yeah, all over the world then.
All over the world.
These are glorious though.
Like, look at this one over here. Like, this one almost looks like it's at the equator. These ones are bending that way, and these ones are bending the other way.
I was going to wait to see who noticed that.
Yeah, he's just
I've
turned
got it.
around. Oh god. Just
Yeah.
quick close to that. He just turned around.
No, but what Righteous is saying is the game that they play on us is show a picture like this and say, bring in begging the question of the equator and the globe. And here I am in California, and I get the same picture.
Yeah,
Just by coincidence, John Le Bon was on a live interview today. As it's a John Le Bon argument. Just pure coincidence. Yes, you can get that effect anti-clockwise, clockwise just by turning around. It's amazing, isn't it?
Oh, brilliant, Ted.
Thank you, Adam. Yeah, it's the camera. It's not me.
No, it's not the
Camera's
camera.
a cool camera.
I mean, yeah, it's the camera, but yeah, you've got to know how to do it. You've got to keep the camera. Look, it's
Look,
clear. You've got this absolutely rock solid stable.
Yeah, you know why? Because I can't find my tripod, so I take a towel or a hoodie or whatever, and I put it on top of either the car or something else, and then I set the camera. I get a level with the grid overlay that the camera shows you on the LCD screen, and then I push the button. So as long as whatever it's on doesn't move, it comes out good.
Yeah, some people wouldn't do that.
Yeah, my next one's going to be even better. I'm going to go to the highest part of the property where I have more of a panorama. I'll be above the telephone poles and all that. The one towards the end with the blue sky, I think it's coming right here. And it pauses when right here. So gorgeous. So Adam, I saw your intro. Looks nice.
Say again.
I saw Adam's little intro video too.
Yes,
Looks
thank
nice.
you very much, Adam, for making a new intro for me. I'm very, very grateful.
Pleasure. It's good fun doing it, mate. Didn't know where I was going to go with that, but eventually you just sit and listen. Thought I have to get the housekeeping as the intro. I tried a Bassano type story. The only bit of story in there, Nathan, is I wanted to get the imagery of you looking at the back plane of the back window of a plane back in the day. So that was the
Right.
bit of narrative behind it.
Yeah, I like what you've done, to be honest. I mean, one of the commenters on the... So I've got several other channels in case you're watching this and you don't know what I'm talking about when I say Oakley Cord. I'm just talking about a channel that I used to do sort of test broadcasts, anything to do with setting up broadcasting or recording, and things like intros, uploading them to that is where they go. So I'm not cluttering up the main channel with things like a random intro on its own, which you'll have seen if you watched the beginning of this video. Nevertheless, one of the commenters on that channel, so on Oakley Cord, on the video that I trimmed down that you sent, said make the writing slower. And I'd intentionally gone out of my way to make the writing at a pace that was slightly too fast to read. And the reason is because obviously that's the essence of the show. So it's not exactly subliminal. Obviously you could read it, you could even pause it if you wanted to, but you know what I mean? It's not intended to be read like verbatim word for word. It's intended to be flashed in front of you so that you know, I suppose you could call it subliminally. On one level it's subliminal. You get an idea of what's going to come. It's foreshadowing rather than you actually reading out the full verbatim house question and then seeing a black swan background and putting two and two together. You know, that. Don't get me wrong, that's what Adam's done with the lengthier intro at like a minute or whatever it was. But what I've got in sort of 22 seconds or whatever, I've got it along with, a feed at the end, so I can actually press the camera button to do the actual intro. What I wanted was it condensed into a way that you see them, but you don't get the opportunity to read them. It just flashes before your eyes, all the housekeeping questions, with some imagery of black swans or a globe separating. I love that, by the way, with the molten iron core in the middle. Well, those graphics say they're enough. You don't need the actual question. It's just flashed up, as opposed to put up to be read. That's not the intention, or not my intention when I edited it down.
Well, I knew that. We have a relationship now, knowing what's going to happen. I kind of knew. I was tempted because it's about 2.5 minutes long to fill the whole track just for you. But I knew to try and keep it short. But I knew you'd at least half it, whatever I did. So it was a matter of putting my narrative, how I want, and then you'd bring it down to the show intro. Exactly. Oh, it's quite cool.
I couldn't hack it down enough, to be honest. I mean, when I said, can you make me a new intro, do you know what I was expecting, or what I'd hoped for, was what I got right at the end. When you've got the disc with the quadrupole that spins around in various ways as a reflection of it. It looks pretty, and all I've done is overdubbed me going flat earth debate over the top of it. Well, that is what I was hoping for. Just something to have, oh, what a day, what a lovely day, then a little bit of a flash of the words flat earth debate, and then that's it. That's 10 seconds, right? But when you sent it me, I'm like, wow, this is much, much more than I was hoping for. And a couple of people were like, this one or the old one? I'm like, the old one's great, don't get me wrong. But by the same token, it's clouds with done on my older iPad when I was very, very limited in my skill set for making thumbnails. You can see my fingerprint marks where I've erased some of the background and stuff. It was pretty shoddy. Whereas now it's polished, it looks shiny and nice, and I think it's just purely people don't like change. So people are like, I still really like the old one. It's like, yeah, well, after 1,000 of them with that intro, I'm pretty sure, it's familiarity rather than just it's a really good intro, because it's all right.
I've heard the new one about 50 times, and it's growing on me. So hopefully, that little. I tried to get. Because one thing you did have was a recognisable tune. So what I spent a long time trying to get something that is at least sticks in your head in a little bit.
Oh, right. Well, it did before I hacked it up. It's made it slightly different. It's sped it up, slowed it down, changed chunks. Yeah, it was really good until I messed with the audio. It was really memorable. Now it's like,
that's why I've begged for a full play once a month. But now I think it's as it sits now. It's a great standard intro. Hopefully, it comes.
I think so. We'll see the reactions. Like I say, the one that's just been recorded hasn't gone out to anybody yet, but it's on. It's dedicated to reels, if you like, on the tape. What do you call it now? On the hard drive? That's not really got a great ring to it. Been taped? That sounds right. Not been taped. There's no tape. But anyway. It's there. It's been recorded. Somebody's going to have listened to it by the time they listen to us have this conversation.
My favourite bit, Nate, was doing that. I wanted to replicate, the opening screen. So I was putting so many more people on that. I've sent you that one as just a single image as well. I kind of want to do a bit more. So if there's anyone else you've got any pictures,
I've used that as well. So what that is used for is there's an opening frame. So when you press the record button or press the live button, there's a delay. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking anybody who has like a minute-long countdown to overcome this problem and get everything sorted in the wings and gather an audience. But me, I want to get bang straight into it. Moreover, because when the video's rendered, the person who comes to that video that's rendered, that's not live, has got no patience for sitting around waiting for a live show to start, because it's not live anymore, right? They're watching it as a recording. So I want it to be intro, bang, show begins. So that, even if it's garnering an audience while I'm going through housekeeping, that's just how it is, But for that reason, I want it to be fairly swiftly into the intro that you've made. So what I've used is that backdrop with all the extra faces and the van, and it's just like you filled the whole screen instead of it just being a bottom edge that I did, and that starts the show. So as soon as I press record, when it actually starts recording, it starts on that single frame, which is also the opening frame to the video. So it's a seamless transition from that frame into a roll of video, and then the last frame stays on for however many seconds I need. So it ends up being about 30 seconds by the time that the live show still, and it all mounts up. You know, to me, that's like cringeworthy, too long. 10 seconds is what you need. But we'll see if anybody's like, too long, 24 seconds is miles too long, or whatever it is, 27 seconds.
When I'll listen to like a live show and then come and join the pre and after shows. That's why I wanted to do that, because when I'm scanning through, because I don't want to listen to the hour in the middle that I've listened to already, but I'll probably, jump either side. I'll look for the old FE debate roundup logos that you play at those points when you're skimming through. So I wanted something that was recognizable, hopefully, that demarcates beginning and end of the live show. So when you are scanning through, you can just look on the thumbnail bar, and just find that picture, and I know.
Very useful. I think you're right, because if it's only 10 seconds, you can easily scrub over it. Whereas if it's 30 seconds, you're a good chance you'll scrub it and see it, and then you can find the point that you've not seen already, i.e. if you want to watch the pre-show till the live show begins, and then scrub through till, as you say, the after show begins. Good little plug for me, or segue for me, because I've just started doing something new. So I ended up with a slightly convoluted schedule on the re-ups, the Uncut and after shows on the second channel. What I've now done is delayed them by a day. So Monday show goes out on Tuesday show goes out on Wednesday, etc., etc., until I get to Friday, because that's when you're on. Now, typically what I've done is reschedule it to a slightly, a different time before or after your show. Well, your show finishes often at 2 a.m. So what I've decided to do is just not have a Friday show on the second channel, because there's plenty to pick from, you included, and I just don't want to compete with you. So I've then rescheduled that, which would have been on Friday to Saturday, and what was on Thursday to Sunday. In other words, you've then got a show every day as a result of that, because I've staggered it with a 2-day gap. Anyway, because of that, it means that there's going to be people who are annoyed. Right, well, I just want to see it 3 hours later on the second channel. I want to see the Uncut and after show immediately, etc., etc., etc. In fact, there's people in Discord after the live show finishes just because they can't be asked to, watch the live show. So based on that, I've now done a members only video. So each time the show finishes and the after show finishes, I immediately upload to the main channel a members only version. So it's still going to go out as the same as I've just described, with a delay on the second channel, so you still get to see it. But if you remember, you can scrub through and find the intro and see the bit that you haven't seen, I don't know, a couple of hours, however long it takes to upload and render on the main channel. So just a quick plug to the members.
That's a great bonus feature, Nathan, for members. That's somewhat value. That's
exactly.
Cool.
It's added value. I have to start the live show. I'm really sorry to cut you off, Adam. Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now we are joined by Adam Meakin, Righteous Force, and 10th Man in G+, together with a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all.
Hello, hello, hello.
Good.
Afternoon.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hello, Scratchy Mike Discord crew. Good to have you all. Any signs of physical Earth curve edges, formerly known as a geometric horizon or, quote, Earth curve?
Not from San Diego Airport.
Only in CGI. I found a lot there, but nope.
Only in CGI.
Morning, guys.
Hello.
Hey, Chocolate, good to have you. Hey, Arwen, good to have you also.
Oh, hey, Choco.
No way.
Adam, the legend.
I'm going to do it.
Going up, guys.
I meant to do this at the beginning of the show. I just forgot. So there's been several new members that have joined Nathan Oakley channel. So we've got Udada, who's joined as a penguin, and scroll. J Mel's 24, who's joined as a unicorn. Tina Baker, who's one of my patrons, who's joined as a unicorn also, and 787GENX, which is Michael. He's a long-standing contributor to me. He's probably one of my first contributors. Thank you very much indeed for joining as a lion. It's Michael, Tina, Jay, and Udada. Thank you very much indeed. I think the reason for that is because the Uncut and After show goes out now immediately after the live show finishes. So if you do want to watch immediately and you're a channel member, I tend to publish the Uncut and After show on the second channel with a delay, so you'll see it with a 24-hour countdown. But if you did want to watch it immediately and you are a channel member, you can. Moving on, housekeeping-wise, any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No.
No.
Nottingham.
No. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Come on, Arwen.
It's right over there.
Yeah, I can see it too. Nice clear day. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Nathan, they don't know how to measure geometric horizons that don't exist. So how are they going to give us that?
I don't know. Why would you need the horizon in the first instance to measure something like the sun?
What are you talking about? They
It's not really.
Calculate it. All right. No, I'm going to need it measured.
It's a lot clearer day here than the last time I was on. And it looks a bit further away, the sun, today. So I can definitely say it's still more than 1.5 miles away, because it's definitely further away than Sainsbury's.
More than 1.5 miles away. I've got a photo in the old reel, of course. Nice new shiny reel, doesn't have it. Of a picture that I took 3 years ago, where I've got the sun in front of a tree that's less than 100 yards away.
What?
You heard. There's a tree, I can see it from here right now, and I've got a picture of the sun in front of that tree. Just the way it looked. It looked less than 100 yards away in that image, because the tree was behind it.
I think that might have just been the halo that kind of like shone over.
It was the sun. I don't know what you want me to say. I've got a picture of the sun in front of a tree that's only 100 yards away, probably less. And I published it because I thought it was interesting. And there was one virtually unknown globehead troll with a channel that was actually putting out videos that picked up on it and went, look, Nathan proves the nonsense of people asserting that the clouds are behind the sun with a tree behind the sun, and it's right in the foreground. And I'm like, yeah, I thought that was interesting too. But no one picked up on it. It rolled by on the old reel on every show. No one ever mentioned it.
Maybe because it's just a beautiful picture.
It is a beautiful picture. It's right on my window. That's my view. It is. It's, got trees. Admittedly, there's a school full of kids some parts of the day that are screaming their heads off in between those trees, but you can't see them. But nevertheless, you can hear them, little sods. I mean the beautiful little children.
No one commented on it because they didn't want to go out on the limb.
I love it. Boom, boom. But anyway, we haven't got it to scroll through and find it now to discuss it. Go on, Neil.
There's people that swear by the clouds being in front of the sun pictures. I mean, the sun in front of the cloud.
Yeah, I know. That was again partially why I put it out there. There's a lot of nonsense asserted from the flat Earth side of this argument. You know, more stuff moving around my lounge unexpectedly. Poltergeist. I put it out because there's a lot of flat earthers that will assert nonsense, especially about celestial objects. And you're like, how do you know? Well, because that's how it makes sense on my model, is normally the answer you get. Well, my model, the sun's right in front of that tree outside my window. Anyway, Adam, anything to add as it was your point?
I think awake souls is the thing that springs to mind.
Awake souls? He's the guy that constantly calls people Satan.
Yeah. He didn't believe his model. But the spawn of Beelzebub.
Shouldn't he be out, you know, finger pointing and claiming people are transsexual when they're not? Isn't that his bag?
No, he thinks I think with Awake Souls, he thinks more like he's literally in hell and everybody is demons but him. That's
I see.
kind of almost what it comes down to.
He's still going.
I don't know. I never used to watch him, but I used to watch Tim Osman pointing out really weird things that he'd done. Let's move on with housekeeping.
Sorry. It was just a flashback, mate. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what I
Maybe he
got.
just-
Soon as I was like, weird things that he'd done, Tim Osman's described them. The things that he'd done went through my mind. I'm like, do I want to discuss any of this? No.
No.
Maybe Awake Souls just says things on the fly.
Let's say his name a few more times. We might garner him a few subscribers, right? Moving on. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Nah.
Not
Nope.
scientific.
CGI evidence.
CGI evidence for gravity? Oh, I suppose
Yeah,
you've got
the G
pictures
and-
of the bending
the
space-time
G.
fabric with
No,
the
no,
little
no.
squares.
You're thinking of descriptive evidence.
No, the G in CGI.
That's a big G. Oh, right.
She just got that. It took a couple of seconds. Moving on. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Possible.
Well, they could potentially, but yeah, all the things that they speculate about are so far out of reach, they'll never get to actually physically confirming it. But in
So it's impossible.
theory, it could be possible. If any of it would be right, which it isn't.
Well, the question is scientific evidence.
Oh, okay.
No, the standard's even lower. It's not even asking for scientific evidence. A single viable hypothesis isn't asking for scientific evidence. It's the lower standard. So even what you're asking for, or what Quantum Eraser has phrased, very cleverly so, it's actually within their capabilities. So a hypothesis is also abstract. So what I mean by that is, until you actually perform an experiment and the outcome is what you're classing here, that's the scientific evidence, the outcome of the experimentation. But we're not even asking for that. We're asking for the conceptual part, your supposition of what will cause an effect that they've observed. So they can definitely get to step one, they can observe phenomena. Now all we're asking for is a viable hypothesis. That's a supposition, not anything actualized. So we're not saying give us scientific evidence from any of those fields. They're definitely not going to get that. But we're not even asking for that. We're asking for a viable hypothesis. So it's an even lower standard, 10th man.
Okay, somebody's spamming the chat a lot.
With nuclear signs, saying coronawin virus. I think they just wanted a shout out. Please don't spam the chat anymore. You got a shout out. Coronawin. Is that how you say that? Coronawin. How am I saying it? Coronawin. Coronawin virus?
No, just stop.
Stop.
Coronawin virus.
Say it again. Corona
Is
wind.
it?
Yeah, that's clever.
Yeah, I thought that was quite clever. That's not, I haven't even timed him out for spamming. He stopped, so he knows he's got a laugh.
Coronarwin?
Here we go. Coronarwin. That's it. Coronarwin. That's it. Coronarwin virus.
COVID-19.
Arwen, you're a source of inspiration, man.
COVID-19.
Type of inspiration and
You see that one, Nathan?
That's great. I love these wins.
You should write these down, Owen. You know, in 20 years' time.
I'm crying here. I haven't even got through the housekeeping yet. Stop spamming the chat. Especially not when we've done housekeeping yet.
19. Hello, can you hear me?
Hey, Babs.
What's up,
Hey,
man?
how's it going? Yeah, so the Globers seem to think that masses can't accelerate on their own without external forces being applied to them. And this is all based on Newtonian laws of motion, where mass times acceleration is equal to force.
Force. I mean, recently we've been talking about the hydrological cycles. So obviously you input energy into a puddle and it changes into gas and then works its way up. But is that putting a force into it? It's putting energy into it, but is that classified as putting a force into it to make it go up?
Well, according to them, a force is equal to a mass that's accelerating. So
these are Newtonian principles, though, right?
Yeah, those are Newtonian
Oh,
principles.
right. The laws of Newton were not right. Richard Feynman.
I've actually heard you say that before.
No,
I've heard several people say that
not me.
before.
Hell no. I'm not taking credit for that. That's Richard Feynman, not me.
He's the one that said they were wrong?
Correct. Well, no, he didn't say they were wrong. He said they were not right.
Well, isn't that what wrong means?
I'm just quoting him verbatim rather than changing it and paraphrasing it, that's all.
Right. Now, is this a little bit too much to ask for right now, but do you have a citation for that? Because I might need that for later on today.
Just type it into Google. I'll just use their standard. No, I haven't.
Right.
I could try to find it for you and get it to you a little bit later. I'm at work now.
Yeah, just send me a DM or something.
Can I just say something, though? In terms of when I will cite something like that, it's because you don't actually, in a debate, rely on citations. They support your argument. Now, I'm incredibly lazy. I'm in a sofa with my feet up at the moment, and I've not got anything. My keyboard's it's on charge, and I'm basically lazy. So what I would rather or prefer to do is just win the argument without necessarily using any citations, because they're not even required. Some people will just give you a citation. The dude 2 days ago, I think that's going out tonight on the second channel. Subscribe today to Nathan Oakley if you want to watch Uncut and After Show. But the dude came in and he's like, I've got a citation. Irony of ironies, after Arwin, as he's picked up on a little trick I've been using and decided to become the authority on Arwinian gravity. And he's like, I am the citation. It's like, perfect, this is ace. Because the guy then provides Einstein, and he's like, I've got citation for it. It's like, yeah, just because he's written it down doesn't make it reality, any more than Arwin writing it down making it reality. So citations in those regards, people rely on them like they actually prove your argument. And it's the other way around. Citations support your argument, but your argument is what's actually being challenged, not the citation. So when someone says, I'll just read this Google wiki, whatever I've got, it's like, no, I'm not going to read it. Give me what the argument is. If you're claiming science from wiki, give me the dependent and independent variable. I'm not going to read through your wiki citation again because I'm totally lazy. Read it out to me. Tell me what I need to know about what you're claiming, because I don't really care about the citations half the time. I can't even be bothered to read them, let alone garner them and give them. I'd rather win the argument.
Right. But in this discussion, it matters because most of us aren't scientists or astrophysicists. So when we're talking to the Globers and like the people that are watching, they need support from someone that actually is a scientist or an astrophysicist. So
I know. I get it.
Citations help to offer support.
I understand.
I just posted
I get it. It's strengthened. It supports your argument. Well, I know what supports means, but I'm just lazy. It doesn't. I don't care that they want it to. I don't care if they believe me. So if someone in the chat now says, "I don't think Richard Feynman said that," I don't care. Yeah, right. Oh well, I don't care. Sorry,
That's why
I
I
shouldn't
love
have that
people
attitude.
don't
I know, but I don't care.
I don't
Nathan.
care either.
Nathan, I just posted it in Master B for Babs.
I saw. Do you want me to put it up?
No, I don't care.
I'm not in Master B.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, 10th. Make my point for me.
Well, what makes Feynman an
I'm not
authority?
in Master B.
Oh, excellent question, Arwin. Sorry, don't rumpus, Arwin. Can you say that again, Arwin?
What makes Feynman an authority on these things anyway? You know, he's done a lot of experimentation. He figured out a lot about quantum mechanics, and he was absolutely a mathematics master. But what makes him then an authority on these type of statements? Like, if he disagreed with somebody about something, why does that make anything true? It seems like it's all grounded in this idea of peer review, and that if enough, the consensus type of agreeing.
Well,
Yeah.
the same could be said, Arwen, the same could be said about Newton not saying what he's, as people test Newton saying and find out that 207 years later, somebody else attributed something to Newton.
Right. Well, yeah. In that sense, you should take care that if you're going to use Feynman's concepts and theories from his works, you should, of course, not take them out of context. So in relation to Feynman's work, of course, what he said is very important.
Not necessarily.
But other than that, just because this person agrees or disagrees with something out there does not make that true.
Correct.
It's more a consensus-based type of argument.
Correct. Anyway, someone going to read this? If not, it's just about legible and this font size. If no one else wants to read it. No, fine, I'll read it. The discovery of quantum mechanics first, and then the behaviour of light, and then in the behaviour of matter, finally culminating in 1926 with a full equation of quantum mechanics which told us that the laws of motion of Newton were not right and had to be modified with other laws which are quantum laws of motion. Richard Feynman.
Are quantum laws of motion related to bendy spacetime?
No.
Is there any way to summarize what the big differences are between his quantum laws of motions and the regular laws of motions from Newton?
They're not his quantum
We have
laws
to
of
wait-
motion.
Hmm?
They're not Feynman's. These are based on scientific experimentation. That's where you're getting these.
Hello, everyone. Hey, hey, Nathan. I almost said hey, Arwen. Sorry.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Arwen, anyway.
Oh.
Hello. We're still in the middle of housekeeping, by the way.
Could I say something about the Feynman thing there?
Sure.
I think it's more to do with the fact that he noticed that, and I'm not sure why, but I think I could be wrong here, so I could be totally corrected by Kiwi. But I think it's more to do with the fact that he noticed that the Newton's laws of motion weren't correct, were not right when it came to smaller things. So kind of if things aren't correct with the smaller things, then they can't be correct with bigger things. It's something to do with this small and big. It's like you can't have different for small and big, something like that.
How have you got your mic doing that? So it's like automatically muting you. That's clever.
Is it doing that? Is it?
Yeah, so when you're not talking, it just pops you back on mute automatically. Anyway, moving on with housekeeping. Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
Oh, Well, it's up for grabs. It's flexible. They're still trying to refigure it out, like what the entire universe is folded around this now changing R value doesn't match anymore.
Still saying the horizon's refracted. They're still looking at the oil rigs. They are just not getting black rocket.
Right.
Yeah, I say 8 more months, probably. Maybe longer for some people. But yeah, as long as we understand it. Obviously, it's going to defeat any claim of a curve calculator based with R values at its centre. You know, talking of centres, any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Oh, well, Adam found a really good animation to show it how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, it's in my intro.
Yeah.
Can't be better than Nathan. That was outstanding.
Shout out to Adam for the intro. He got one on the pre-show, but as we're live now, so the new intro that you saw today was made by Adam. So woohoo! Shout out to Adam Meakin of Iron Realm Media for his fantastic editing skills.
Yeah.
I said to Arwen earlier, I'm world-class plagiarist.
Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon? For all the fundamentalist religious zealots who believe the sky is a vacuum called outer space.
I would like to see it demonstrated here on Earth.
I didn't hear you. You're a bit too quiet, Neil. Say that again.
I said I would like to see it demonstrated. If they can do it.
No, you can't. It's a necessary antecedent.
Is a cup a container?
Yes, a cup is a container.
Is a gas tank a container?
Yes, Alwyn. A gas tank is a
Not
container.
according to Zanuck.
Hello?
Hello, individual one.
Hello?
Hello.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, loud and clear. Well,
How's
loud.
it going? How's it going?
It's going very well. Just finished the housekeeping questions. Thank you for asking. How's it going for you?
Yeah, you said, yeah, I'm doing pretty good. But I'm trying to understand this topic right here. This guy being a vacuum and stuff like that. Now, it's claimed that water boils at high altitudes. Is that true?
Yeah.
Right.
What
When gas
causes the water
gas
to
pressure decreases,
Well,
then
Let me
it
ask
will
his question.
evaporate.
Hold on, Owen. He hasn't
so-
asked his question yet. Go ahead, mate.
Okay, so the absence of pressure causes water to boil?
No, it will cause it to boil at a lower temperature.
Okay. Well, why does it boil at high altitudes? That's confusing.
What's boiling?
Water
I mean,
turning
the
into a
claim
gas.
is, I didn't verify this stuff now. The
It's just
claim
he's
is that
leading
water
you.
boils at high altitude.
Sure, he's leading you. So he's asked you what is boiling. It's water liquid form turning into water gas form.
It's a phase transition, what we're witnessing. So part of the variables within that phase transition, along with temperature, is also the pressure the atmosphere creates on the surface where the phase transition is going to occur. And if there's less pushing down, rebounding those molecules that are trying to escape from the surface, then the rate at which they can escape or boil, as we observe it, is lowered. Less resistance. That makes sense.
Yeah, better than I could have done. Thank you,
Thank
Adam.
you.
Is a somber moment of reflection now, or what?
Excuse me?
Water.
I think he was under the impression that water by its own, the higher you go, will boil.
Well, in a way, that's part of the assertion, isn't it? Because they've got
will
to transition
eventually,
from pressure to vacuum, and therefore, if you've got that as your paradigm, then yeah, you go up high enough with a cup of water, and eventually it'll just boil of its own volition when you reach a sky vacuum. Now, that assertion
Exactly.
is debunked by not having a container to form the pressure in the first place for it to transition through to achieve vacuum at the top. In fact, that's in violation of a natural law, the second law of thermodynamics. But I don't know if that's ever been asserted. I've never heard that asserted or seen it written down. But this guy's natural logical progression in terms of his question does actually make a lot of sense.
You need a container for a vacuum too.
Yes, indeed.
Can Adam summarize what he said again?
Yeah. So when we state a boiling point of water, within that there are certain assumptions, and those assumptions tend to be that it's pure water, because putting other things into it will affect freezing and melting point, salinity, for example. So there are lots of factors that affect the way in which phase transition occurs, and we make these statements that it's at standard temperature and pressure, and they're two biggest variables. But we're talking about temperature, obviously we understand, and that's when we go up the mountain and it boils. That phase transition we notice is happening at a lower temperature, and the two are inversely proportional, temperature and pressure, with regards to this. So as we go up and the pressure decreases, there's less of a requirement of energy input to generate a phase transition, and that's because there's less interference at the surface where the phase transition's occurring.
So what you're saying is, as you're lower, you've got more gas particles bashing into the water, the liquid state, and therefore if something's about to release, i.e. change from being bonded to being unbonded, and it happens to be bashed by a gas particle, then that phase transition may not occur. Whereas as you go up, there's less likelihood that the gas particles are going to bombard it at the point of phase transition, therefore a higher likelihood of phase transition will occur if there's less gas bashing into the water state.
Yeah, put simply, but hopefully that gives you a picture of how the pressure's playing a role.
Okay.
Cool.
I still got more research to do on this stuff. Kind of like going on, but I'll get there.
Adam, are you saying that water wants to become gas, but it can't at surface level due to the amount of pressure we have?
So on a molecular level, water's always doing this. It's called what's called the latent heat of vaporization. So there's always water leaving the surface and coming back during that phase transition, because there's, on an individual molecule level, there's enough energy for that to happen. When you're seeing it boiling, you're seeing loads of it trying to leave at the same time. That's why, yeah.
Excellent. So it is so precise that only the exact adequate amount of water leaves. Like, I mean, due to the, let's say, surface pressure we have, a constant pressure, due to this constant pressure at this particular amount of pressure, it allows only the absolute adequate amount of water to become gas.
I suppose the way in reverse is a hot cup of tea. You think about your hot cup of tea, all you're doing there is changing the temperature of the cup of tea. It's slowly getting lower and lower, and you'll see less and less vapor coming off the tea. But even when your tea's stone cold, if you leave it there long enough, it'll all evaporate away, won't it?
Yes, exactly.
It won't boil off. Boil is just loads of that happening all at once. Loads of the molecules trying to do it. All of them fighting, trying to get away at the same time.
And when that stuff starts evaporating off, what direction does it go? Adam?
Well, it becomes subject to gas law once it leaves the surface. So
Gas law. That would mean it would expand in every direction.
yeah. Or if obviously it goes back down, it becomes reabsorbed in most cases. But once it's liberated, yeah. So that's any of those directions away from the surface, it will go. But all of those directions away from the surface do have a positive component on the z-axis, i.e. they go up, yeah. To leave the surface, it has to have a positive.
Hold on. Don't they go down, go boom, boom?
No down, boom, boom.
No, mostly
I
down.
want to say something.
No. All of that leave and liberate have to go up, don't they? To leave the surface.
Hold on, let's just get clarity. Mostly down?
No, none down at all initially. No down at all. No down, boom, boom.
But mostly
Up,
down.
so up and away.
All up.
Yeah, that's the thing that I was curious about.
Oh, no, we got a nibble. Hold on, Adam. We got a nibble. Go ahead, Babs.
Yeah, I gotta say this right now before I lose this point. Yeah, they say that most things go down, but our answer to that is that we observe equilibrium. Everything we observe is ordered in equilibrium, and the only things that are moving randomly are gases. But at a fundamental, like micro level, liquids and solids are also randomly moving. But the question is, why is equilibrium down? Like, why is it that there's a tendency for most objects that have mass to be down?
Can I try
in a state of equilibrium?
Sure, I'll try and answer that. I think because the idea of equilibrium in the system that we are in is complete folly. So the word that you would be better substituting for equilibrium is balance. So when you've got Adam describing, who's rustling in G+. Anyway, when you've got Adam describing like water having a single molecule be liberated into a gas state without being at 100 degrees at sea level centigrade, well, that is part of the balance that we experience. Everything's in a harmony as opposed to in equilibrium. So we're never achieving an equilibrium in that regard. There's always a certain amount of entropy, and it's kind of the reason or the necessity that the entropy laws are described with isolated systems, because of that constant flux, that slight imbalance, if you like, which isn't achieving equilibrium. Entropy or change is always occurring. So therefore, to describe this simplistically, you have got to kind of exclude all other influential sources to describe it simplistically. Otherwise, you end up with what I've just given you, which is like, what, 30 seconds diatribe just to explain that things change? Well, yeah, things change. Well, that's like 2 words to sum up the entropy law, pretty much. You know, so to describe equilibrium is kind of wrong. Does that make sense?
Right. I agree with you that entropy is always taking place, but the question is that when we're observing specific states of matter, like liquids and solids, for example, why is it that when they're in a state of equilibrium, they're down? Why is equilibrium down?
Well, number one, that's not the case.
That is the question.
Number one, it's not. It's up for some things relative to their medium, depending on the medium. It's medium specific. Anyway, the other thing is you're wrong on another front. So let's say you've got a perfectly static puddle and it's isolated in every regard from any sort of heat exchange. Well, it's still not in equilibrium because the thing is moving at high velocity, even though it's bonded. It's still very much moving, even when it looks completely still. Now, you go down another level to solids, and they do the same thing. They're never static. So nothing's in equilibrium. And you can't reach absolute zero, which is to say that nothing's moving. That can't be achieved. So to say equilibrium is almost like saying you can achieve rest at some stage, and nothing's ever at rest. Everything's always in flux, changing, moving. That's how life is. And all we see is sometimes a very tranquil harmony or a tranquil balance, In other words, something in fall arrest when it's reached the bottom of the ocean, for example. But that's not to say that the ocean floor can't fall away and there's another density level below that it could just slip into, like a rock can slip off a cliff when it seems to be perfectly tranquil and in fall arrest. So everything, even when it seems to be static, you can go down another level and say, well, look at all this movement. Even in the rock itself, it's not static. It's got a certain amount of vibration and movement.
Right. At a fundamental micro level, everything is moving. But the difference is the forces between the molecules, like the intermolecular forces, is what makes solids what they are and liquids what they are and gases what they are. That's the difference that I've noticed so far. But the question still remains that why is it that solids and liquid...
Go on, go with your question. The question is, why do liquids and solids what?
Well, why is it that solids and liquids are on the ground? Why do they stay on the ground? Why do they have a tendency to be...
Can I answer something there for Bob?
Answer than the medium they're in.
Hold on.
It's-
Adam, hold on.
Babs,
Adam was tried to respond first, so go ahead, Adam.
The first point was in just to make with regards to something like glass. In response to what you were saying about things are at the atomic level still moving. So even glass, which has got some components, will settle. So if you go and look at 100-year-old glass, it will be slightly thicker at the bottom than it is at the top, and that's due to relative density. Even in solids, ordering slowly at a very slow rate. As it takes hundreds of years, but it's been noticed. So it does happen in solids, but entropy still applies, but at such a slowed rate because the relative density differential is so small, but it's still applied.
No, you're cheating, Adam. Glass is technically not a solid. It's technically a liquid.
Fair enough, by true description, yeah. But it's an example of something we consider a solid.
Yeah, well, hey, pressure, when something cannot maneuver, it will still exert pressure. Like I've pondered upon, even if you put an anvil in the middle of a mercury bath, it may float in it, as it were, because it is kind of in equilibrium with its surrounding, but it's also going to add its pressure pretty much in all directions then, and that will be passed on to the mercury and to the walls of that container it is in.
I like that.
Why does matter arrange itself in that manner? Why is it that the denser objects are at the bottom and the less dense at the top? Why does that order stay consistent?
That's
the way it is.
Isn't that almost like asking why does entropy happen?
Kind of. So this effect so Dr. John D, Quantum Eraser, myself, Sleeping Warrior, and I believe Adam as well, all had probably a week-long discussion on this and came to the conclusion that the description is a second-order effect of entropy. So it's not like you can pin it onto something and establish the cause. It's a second-order effect of entropy. So initially I was like, this is entropy. And Dr. John D and Quantum Eraser were like, no, it's not entropy, but let's figure out what it is. And then, like I say, there was about a week of discussion on it. It's a second order effect of entropy, if you want to describe it that way. I just wanted to throw something in before we go off on a complete segue, though. So as this to blow your mind, so I like Arwin's description, but this is another similar thing, right? So what about a liquid that flows uphill? So silicon flows upwards. So if you can check this for yourself. If you've got a silicon seal anywhere in your house, like on a bathroom seal or a shower, something like that, go and check out the silicon. And what you will notice is it's worked its way... Arwin. It's worked its way up the glass. So the older the silicon, the more you'll see that the liquid has actually progressed upwards, worked its way up your tile or up your glass of your shower. So silicon flows uphill. How's that to blow your mind?
That's surface tension.
No, isn't it? Isn't that gas? Isn't that because of just a gas that is part of the solution of it? Isn't it?
Mostly down.
No, that has to do with the liquid being attracted to the walls of the container.
No, it's because gravity's working against buoyancy and mostly down go boom boom. That's what I'm going to say.
Brian, ask your
You know the
question,
way.
brother.
No,
Thanks,
when you see a
Babs.
concave meniscus
Babs, one
in
moment.
something that's in a container, that's because the liquid is being attracted to the walls of the container.
So you're saying
Babs,
that.
remember
Hold
you're
on,
asking.
hold on, Brian. So
Sorry,
you're saying
Jamie.
that essentially the silicon is forming a meniscus. What? Hold on.
Oh shit, I was muted. Yeah, the silicon is forming a meniscus.
So you can have a massive silicon meniscus then. So if you had a pool, if I got a plate with a little indent in the bottom of it, and I covered the surface till it filled up to the first lip with silicon, you're saying that it would just work its way up into a big concave shape and work its way up to the top edge of the plate?
We wouldn't know until we perform the experiment.
Not an
Everything is
experiment.
just hypothetical.
Oh, someone kick him out.
Oops.
Observation.
I mean, we haven't done the experiment, so this is all just hypothetical right now.
This isn't an experiment. This is just merely observing potentially a phenomena in what silicon does.
Right. If it happens on a micro level in a test tube, then yeah, it would happen on a macro level as well.
So you could have literally, you could fill a potentially a swimming pool with silicon and then watch it turn into a concave shape. Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, not as dramatically as you're defining it right now. Probably just like on the edges, you would notice some of the silicon being attracted to the edges of the. I mean, it also has to do with the materials that are being used. If you're looking at silicon in a test tube, that's glass in comparison to a swimming pool that probably has like ceramic or concrete. So it's you have to consider the materials that are being used as well.
Sure. The reason it's fascinating is because obviously when you look at silicon, most people will touch it and feel it's fairly solid nature and not appreciate what it's actually doing when it's working its way up your glass of your shower, or in this instance forming a concave, sort of like a lens shape, I would imagine, depending on how severe it would be towards the centre. And I think, visualising this, how it may actually appear, instead of just having it like with water, you've got a tiny little edge that works its way up. Well, it might be that it works its way further down, is my point. In other words, if you end up with an inch meniscus, that's going to be quite dramatic, right? That's going to form like almost a lens. I don't know, I'm just speculating.
Right, this is all just speculation.
Abs, just to answer your question a while ago, just before we get too far away from it. When you asked why does solids and liquids go down and gases go up kind of thing, that's not correct. You have to use air as the common denominator. All things that are more dense than air will go down. All things go down through it. All things that are less dense than air will go up through it. But the things going down through it also include other gases that are more dense. So it's all about density. Right. So other gases that are more dense than air will go down.
Hold on, Babs. Just say that again. It's all about what? Because that's the most crucial bit.
Density. It's all about the density of whatever the matter is.
Precisely. So relative density is like adding a descriptor to what is ultimately summarized with one word. It's all about the density. Now you're putting a caveat on in terms of the density of whatever you're comparing in the medium of air. So the relative bit is removed because you're just saying, well, this is all comparable to what happens in air. You change the medium, all the rules change.
Yeah.
Okay, it matters because the defining point here is if we're really conducting science and we're following the scientific method, we're gonna want to know what the real cause of this phenomenon is. So far, the cause has been stated as density, but that still doesn't explain why things order themselves in that manner. You can't just say that density is the cause of what we're seeing, because what's causing things to be ordered in the way that they're ordered.
You can.
That question
you can
still
answer
hasn't
it.
been answered. So density can't be the cause.
No, you can.
There's something else that's causing it.
You can assert that. The density is the cause. You can assert that and verify it. It's been Sleeping Warrior verified it. You go and check him out with his egg and his salt. It's really simple to do. You can do it yourself. Put a bit of salt with an egg. Watch the egg rise because the density of the water increases. So you can easily demonstrate that's the case. But when you get down to, well, what causes the alignment? Well, then you're into where I described it, or I'm taking credit for what is a discussion that I had very little part of between Dr. John Dee and Quantum Eraser. And it's in terms of what will give you that cause. Well, you're never going to achieve it. It's like trying to, I don't know who said it earlier to give him credit, but it's like trying to say, what's the cause of entropy? Well, this is a second order effect of entropy in terms of trying to establish what causes the overall effect, what causes the density alignment to take its shape. Well, no, the way you can describe how things move through their relative densities, in that case water, or in this case air, is just with one word, density. That is what causes that. And you can verify it with science. Check out All Hail Sleeping Warrior the Scientist.
Real quick, Babs, what's your name in Discord right now, bro? So I can send you this thing. Hello?
You chopping up. His name's Pope, something Space Pope. He's chopping up. I don't know if you want to drop and rejoin.
All right,
Chopping up,
thanks.
Babs.
That's all I need. Thank you.
I think he's sending you something, if you can still hear us, Space Pope, but you're chopping up and we can't hear what you're saying anymore. You've gone all crappy. Not you, Chocolate. Chocolate's just dropped and rejoined thinking I was talking to him.
No, I actually hit the end button by accident.
Oh, okay. No, I thought I made it clear. Yeah, Space Pope was dropping.
Nathan, can I introduce another factor that I was thinking while everyone was talking about the subject?
Yeah, by all means.
Okay, so information and the creator and the way things behave. It's if you believe in the creator, if you accept the fact that there has to be a creator, then the creator has put information into things. Like, why would he make an apple go up? It needs to fall so I could eat it. So, you know what I'm saying? It's like it's ordered. Everything is ordered to work the way it is. And we get to a place where we're saying, why? Why is it working that way? And sometimes we bang our heads against because we can't figure out the next why. But
Yeah. Can you hear me now? Mic check.
Loud and clear.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, so that still doesn't answer the question, though. Like, I mean, I understand what you're saying, that yes, density does cause things to be ordered in that way.
I'll answer the question.
Though, why are things ordered?
I have the answer, Babs.
Hold on.
Go
on, Brian.
Thank you, Nathan. The answer is...
Yeah, why are denser things at the...
The answer, Babs, is that if it didn't happen that way, then we wouldn't exist. That's the actual answer. We won't find out what that is. It's searched for 100 years. You're going to have your work on and find out what that is.
Yeah, agreed.
That still doesn't answer the question, Brian.
You're right. You're not going to either. That's what he's saying.
What are you trying to answer the question for? Sorry, Nathan.
He's right. You're not going to establish this as a cause. I'm sorry.
Why is that not of importance? Don't we need to know why things are ordered in that way?
Like I say, it's trying to establish why entropy occurs. Why does change occur? Well, that's going to be the ultimate question. And like with any natural law, you're not going to find the cause for it. If you did find the cause for it, it would cease to be a natural law.
I see, right. So what you're saying is it's impossible, really?
I think establishment of the cause of entropy, or in this instance, a second order effect of entropy, it's going to be impossible to establish the cause of it through science. Yes.
I mean, people have made attempts, be it... Hold on. People have made attempts, be it fallacious. We have seen the Cavendish experiment and all these attempts that have been made to explain what we're observing and explain the cause for it. So I think it is of importance. So, but what you're saying is that these things can never be understood. We're never going to know why these things are happening.
Sure.
Really?
If I give you a question within the law, You tell me how difficult this is to answer. Why does heat flow to cold always?
Why does what, sorry?
Hot flow to cold. Why does that always happen? What's the cause of hot going to cold?
Because matter always seeks equilibrium.
What equilibrium? Didn't we go over this? Change is always occurring, though, isn't it? Change is always occurring. So we're going around in a circle where we try and establish what's the cause of this change. What's the cause of entropy? Well, as I say, you won't ever establish the cause, because if you did, it would cease to be a law.
The cause is the system that we live in. We're constantly being subjected to energy.
Let me just stop you.
The sun.
So hold on. So the system we live in, so what, that be nature? Yeah, this would be a law of nature. It's just because that's how nature is. It's just a description. Any law of nature is just a description of how things are.
Right. That's just how things work. We don't know how they work, but that's just how they work.
Abs, the reason that we don't like the actual cause of entropy and the cause of why things order themselves due to density is and has to be, right? Through logic, it has to be because we have a creator. That is the reason.
No, that's two steps away. You can make that, but just not with one step like you've just done. You can come to that with a couple of more steps in between, but no, not a direct. It's not a direct. Nature is in beautiful harmony, but does that mean that we must have a creator? Well, no, I wouldn't say so. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. So all of the things we've discussed here, all these phase changes, are merely change occurring. Well, if that is a inviolable law of nature, and it is the first law of thermodynamics, then where did it all come from? Because it can't be created within the system. That's impossible. Ergo, there is a creator. Now that is a step to the creator, not, well, we've got a beautiful balance. Isn't nature lovely? Therefore, creator. I hear that all the time, and I'm like, that's so ham-handed. No, I'm not having that. Sorry, Brian. Slap, slap, slap.
All right.
Yeah, the question of where everything came from does bring into question that there must be a creator, because where did everything come from? Like, things don't just randomly appear out of nowhere.
Exactly.
Unless you're a glober.
Exactly. You can go from nature and how it works to questions about how natural laws come into existence, to how does everything come into existence, to the ontological primitives, to God. So it's not just as easy as saying, well, nature proves there's a God. And like I say, I hear people say it all the time. It's like, mumble, mumble. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't think nature proves there's a God. I think the information proves there's a creator, because I see information. I see creation. There has to be a creator.
Equally as good.
Like you said.
Equally as good. Yeah, you can't have knowledge without a knower. Therefore, there must have been a knower in the first instance. So knowledge proves there's a God. It's just as good. First law of thermodynamics, because then you undo the assertion within the paradigm that they currently have as well. Everything came from nothing, Big Bang. No, it didn't. That violates the first law of thermodynamics. So what are you left with? If it can't be created within the system, it must have been created by an external source. That's it. End of.
But we, as using intellect in that we are part of that system. We rely on that system to exist.
Yeah,
It
you're
doesn't
halfway
rely
there.
on us.
Nah.
Sorry.
Well, it's just you're halfway there again. So, knowledge, that's the chocolate's got it in one, because as soon as you start to assert knowledge, not only can you back it up with scientific actual validity that is verifiable, that you require information to have a second participant, somebody who's sentient, a knower. You can't have information without a knower. So how does it all start? Well, you can't have anything to begin with unless you've got a knower. Well, what's a knower? Well, if you haven't got anything other than the knower, you've only got a God. That's all that means. Information is that it's just chocolate's taken that route much more efficiently than I have.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
The quantum eraser talks about the infinite regress fallacy when defining a creator. But where did the creator come from? That still applies.
Right.
The creator
did this
couldn't have
before.
just come out of
I love it.
nowhere.
I love
We
how
did this before, Babs.
I was going to say he's
Come on.
asserted the fallacy and then immediately utilized it. So I know there's a fallacy about who created the creator's creator. But who created the creator of the creator's creator's creator? But who created that creator's creator? And he's creating the creator's creator's creator? And so it goes on infinitely. It's an infinite regress fallacy. Beyond the point that you can prove that there must have been an external source, then that's the full stop, because there is an external force. Now, you're never going to get onto the level of seeing that external creator to ask the question, were you created initially? Well, if he was, then there was still the same answer to your original question, which is to say, was there an external force creating everything? Well, there could be 20 steps in between that and an ultimate creator, but it still leaves you with an ultimate creator. You just insert the infinite regress fallacy because you can never have an answer, and that never gives you an answer to the question in the first place. That's why it's a fallacy.
That would mean that the creator exists in an area, a region that doesn't have the same laws that we have here.
Absolutely.
That cannot
be any other way.
Yeah.
If you're a game programmer, you're not subject to the laws and rules that you impose on your program. And if we have a creator, which we absolutely must, then that creator isn't going to be subject to the rules and laws of that which he creates. So no, there's an external place that you're never going to experience because it's ethereal beyond your physical matter. And that area is going to be potentially subject to laws I'm never going to know. But the laws we're subject to absolutely will not be, the inventor of the rules and laws isn't going to be subject to his own inventions and creations in those regards. That makes no sense. In the same way, a game programmer is suddenly not going to have to deal with how you have to chop up a Minecraft block because he's imposed those laws on that program. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you tuned in live on the Nathan Oakley 1980 live stream for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. If you are watching on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Massive thank you to today's Discord and G Plus panels for making the live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on the premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day! That's it.
Why not?
Yeah, if we are here and we have intellect to observe, experience, and learn about the system we live in, and the system we live in has to be exactly as it is for us in a human form to exist. Our human bodies couldn't live if it was any other way. So the density issue of everything ordering themselves in that particular way, to me, that totally proves that we have to have been created, and it has to have been created, because we are here experiencing that creation, that if it was any other way, we wouldn't be able to do that. So, okay, it simplifies it, saying, well, nature's so creator. It does simplify it, but we wouldn't be able to exist if everything wasn't exactly as it is. Not with these human bodies we have. They'd have to be different or something. So that would be my point. We can't experience this without that. Thanks, Doctor.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I mean, why is everything the way it is? Well, that's because it has to be so that we can deal with it the way it is. It's the world that we're living in, right? I can't exactly get to work and go outside and my car is, just floating around at 100 feet in the air just because whatever the hell is happening. the world wouldn't work that way.
We're not going to know
Everything's got to, huh?
Go on, Neil.
we're not going to know everything. We're just not going to know everything. That's it. We're not the creator.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're not going to know the cause of natural laws because they're just laws of nature. It is what it is. Understanding how to describe it is all descriptions of natural laws are. Being able to concisely summarize something which is very difficult and expansive and in some cases quite complicated. But that's what the natural laws and how they're describing these things that just occur the way they do in nature, that's why they're there. Now, if you establish the cause of one of those natural laws, that becomes scientific evidence. You've established the cause of a phenomena. Well, no longer law then, because laws aren't going to... You're not going to find the reason why hot is going to flow to cold always. What's the cause of that change? What's the cause of entropy? Well, you're never going to establish that. And in terms of relative density and the alignment that it takes, that's going to be a second order effect of how change occurs. You know, when there's a liberated particle from gas and it works its way up, well, that change is being described accurately within entropy, but what happens after the change? Well, the gas starts to work its way up. Well, that's also going to be described within gas law and the second law of thermodynamics. So all of this is all encompassing within the second law of thermodynamics, i.e. the entropy law, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you can describe which way it's going in air versus what will happen underwater and all of those things in that natural law specifically. So the relative density spectrum, if you will, is something that's been absolutely scrubbed from our history books and isn't in any way taught beyond buoyancy and gravity. So if you understand that this what could potentially be just described as a natural law isn't, it's been hijacked and described as gravity, you appreciate why we're fumbling and bumbling our way around it, describing it as a second order effect of entropy. It's because it isn't detailed as a natural law. Someone hasn't just summed up this as a nice description that you can call a natural law. It's been called fucking gravity.
Radio check.
Hello, whoever that was.
Radio check.
Yes, hello. We can hear you. Maybe you can't hear us.
Yeah, I can hear you. I got you. Two things because I'm gonna drop here momentarily, possibly. Two things. The Predator also said, "Do you want some candy?" That's number one. Number two, you got to be careful with equilibrium because in chemistry, that doesn't mean you have equal amounts of reactants and products. It just is, that's the forward reaction is the same as the reverse reaction. So be careful, especially in the context you put it in.
You chop in.
Everybody, not
You chop in.
Yeah, I know, man. I'm in a hurry.
We got 60% of it. Careful with the equilibrium.
Did you get the?
You want some
no, we
candy?
My wife's laughing at that exactly. You want some candy? And did you?
Yeah, we got. Did you want some candy?
The equilibrium part is in chemistry that it doesn't mean you have the same amount of reactants and products. It just means that the forward reaction and the reverse reaction are at the same.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we got that this time. Almost in full, 90%.
Yeah. So you can have a ton of reactants and not so much product and be in equilibrium.
Okay, cool.
So go ahead and carry on. If Bab says the Cavendish experiment one more time, I'm going to friggin' come over there and friggin' rip his hair out.
Not just you.
Get stuffed.
It's called. Hold on. Yeah, that's unfair. I've got to take umbrage with that. So, in terms of the law of gravitation, with quotes around it, you can say that there is a. Do you remember when we had this discussion the other day, and the guy was like, because you're saying there is a law of gravitation, that means you're saying it's real? And you're like, no, there is in existence something called the law of gravitation, but that doesn't make it real. Well, in the same way, there is a thing in existence, and this is unfortunate, that's called, and I do it like this, quote, Cavendish experiment, end quote. because that is unfortunate that it's called that, and it is actually pseudoscience. But it just, because it's labelled that way wrong, you've got to address every single time someone details the Cavendish experiment what that means and why it isn't science. So it's not really Babs's fault. That's what it's called, right?
Don't do it again, Babs.
That's what it's called, though.
Is this thing on?
I'm not going to do it again, but that's what it's called, though. So what you're saying is that it's not an experiment? It's not a natural phenomenon?
Right now, kick him out, bastard.
I miss you guys, man.
Yeah, you're
No,
right
it's
over
not.
there, man. What's going
Hold
on?
We've still got an audience. No, Cavendish isn't an experiment. No, it doesn't have an observed phenomenon. No, it doesn't have an independent variable presumed cause of the effect. The phenomena that they claim is conjured within the apparatus itself as opposed to observed as a phenomena in nature, and they've got several claimed to be independent variables. So it's a complete cluster screw. It's not an experiment. It's not got a phenomena.
Wrong, 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 wrong.
Wrong.
Hey, is Adam still on?
Anybody, feel free to tell me what the observed phenomena is in Cavendish, if I'm wrong.
Torsion bar twist. Mass attracting mass. Yeah.
Torsion bar twist. Oh, right. That's something I stumble across in nature all the time.
Wait, doesn't everybody have a
Right, so
torsion bar
mass
tree in
attracting
the
mass
backyard?
isn't a natural phenomenon?
Oh, here we go. Got another attempt. Show me that in nature, please. Where does mass attract mass? No begging the question orbits, please.
Magnets.
Magnets is magnetism, though, isn't it?
Right, so mass attracting mass isn't magnetism?
Hold on, Cavendish is proving magnetism now, is it? What's Cavendish supposed to be claiming? Magnetism? That's news to me.
Well, not really, because he used lead balls to make sure that it wasn't magnetism.
So why are you bringing up magnetism again?
So, right.
Right. Well, I mean, it depends. You can observe mass attracting mass between objects that have certain levels of viscosity. Like if you know, when you hold something that's kind of sticky, isn't that mass attracting mass?
What, a stick?
But is that gravity?
Like when your fingers are sticky, like when you have sticky
talk-
stuff on your fingers.
He's talking about
Hold
if you touch.
Hold on. Sorry, and that's Cavendish, is it? Treacle on my fingers.
It's not magnetism.
But is it Cavendish, the experiment we're talking about? That's not an
No,
experiment.
it's not. No, it's not.
I might have a solution here, guys. If I may.
I've got someone talking about sticky fingers and Arwin with a probable actual point. Go ahead, Arwin.
Right, so hey, if you want a natural-based phenomena for the Cavendish, then instead of torsion bar twists, which are man-made devices, how about monkey hanging by a root twist? You know, in the jungle?
And monkey hanging from a root is gravity, is it?
The twist?
No, we're not trying to justify a torsion bar twisting actually physically in nature. It's because of the effect of two balls being pulled towards each other because of their mass attracting itself. So is the monkey that?
Well, the monkey has two balls.
Oh, piss off. Get off.
Silence, Legolas.
For a start, not all monkeys have got two balls.
Yeah, my wife is sitting there shaking her damn head listening to you.
Yeah, this has gone beyond crayon munching nastiness.
Is Adam still here?
Adam is still here.
Yeah, I want to ask him a question. Adam.
Sorry, guys.
Do monkeys have balls?
No, not about monkey balls, please. Go ahead.
No. So, you able to talk, Adam?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, the autonomic system of the human body, in relationship to our discussion on trying to figure out everything, the autonomic system works, I would say, in a top-down versus bottom-up, if I could use that analogy. Do you know where I'm going before I go again?
No, no. Autonomic nervous system is the function of your breathing, your heart rate, all those sort of things. I'm not sure what it is.
Right. So you don't have to think about it, do you?
It's automatic. Autonomic.
Correct.
If the
So in our last
ball
conversation,
ice buggies.
he's
Hold on, was that a
he's
genuine?
roboting, but he's laughing.
Hold on, I want to know if that's a genuine. You know, are you saying wrong because he is actually wrong?
Not wrong, man. Sorry about that. No,
I heard sorry about that with a load of choppiness. So go ahead, carry on.
All right. So when I'm training my athlete, the golfer, when he's not thinking, he's more top down and more autonomic with his skill acquisition of the golf swing. When he's involved and he's thinking, which would be more of the bottom up approach, then it's more step by step, and he's trying to control every movement of the acquisition of the skill that he's already had because he's been, playing golf for years and years. So I was just thinking about that in contrast to the previous questions about how things are, why up and down. So up and down, it's just up and down. It's been with us for a long time, ever since man was here, etc. And here we are trying to figure out why up and down is up and down. Just, you follow where I'm going with this?
No, because up and down isn't even up and down. They're subjective.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying that the way you describe natural law, which it wouldn't be natural law if you could explain it, go into that.
Wait, hold on. Did you just say up and down is subjective? No, it's not.
Oh, you
It's
think
objective.
it's not.
Up and down is subjective? No way, dude.
Yeah, it's up and down, left and right, forward and backward are subjective. Yes.
So you're trying to tell me that you're trying to tell me that up and down is different for different people?
Yeah. It all depends on your position.
No, it's purely dependent on political view, I think.
Come on now.
Yeah, I voted down.
Yeah, it's up and down, forward and backward, left and right.
All I hear is a quantum eraser robot right now.
Yeah, it's just
is that
too
just
choppy.
me?
Too choppy.
Yeah, the Terminator skeleton structure is coming from underneath the human John skin.
Guide,
Yeah, send the voice modulator back to Cyberdyne Systems.
Yeah, by saying that up and down is subjective, that means that up and down is different for different people.
Not subjective
and it can't
to
be
the individual, subjective to the medium.
Oh, to the medium. Okay.
Yeah.
So Adam, my
relative
question
density.
is to you. Can you describe why autonomic is autonomic?
Hold on, before you do, Adam, he's equivocated with muscle memory. Can I just drop that in before you give an answer?
That's my response, Nathan, so go ahead.
What? I can hear it.
There, Nathan.
Yeah, go ahead, Adam.
I can hear it.
I'm not going to say that. Go ahead, mate. That would be my response.
And what was that response?
You mixing the two with muscle memory.
You're very quiet, Adam.
Sorry, the mic's there. Yeah, I think you're mixing the two. As Nathan said, what you seem to be describing there is kind of muscle memory.
Muscles don't have memory.
Wow. Getting into
Muscle's a muscle.
Yeah, a state of mind where you're not forcing it. Well, I'll leave that with you to decide then. Whatever that muscle memory is that's described, that repetition, be that sports or yoga or art, you know what I mean, that has an impact, that repetition, in terms of accuracy of repetition. So that to me is what you're keying into. But to me, this isn't an autonomic function. It's a state of mind function.
The neurological function. I've got a great analogy for this when you're done, Adam.
Yeah, it's not an autonomic thing in that sense. Because it's still a conscious action that's occurring. You're still willing. You don't tell your nephrons in your kidney to filter or filter faster.
So it's an unconscious function, not a conscious.
No, it's conscious. What you're describing as muscle memory is a conscious action that your brain is taking part in. So the first time you do something, this was given to me as an analogy by somebody who was describing the learning curve and explaining it with a juxtaposition with how your brain works and functions. So they're saying that if you imagine that my equivalence is going to be drawn between electricity that's physically moving in your brain between point A and point B, and that's going to be used in an analogy with like a ravine, and you're trying to get across it. So you've got a rope, and you throw the rope from one side to the other with a little grappling hook. You tie it off, and then you crawl across, terrifying, on one rope to the other side. Now, when you get there, you've done that task once. Now, that's the equivalent of firing off one synapsis or whatever the hell it is. It doesn't matter for this analogy. When you get to the other side and you've performed the task once, you then do the same thing again. You throw another rope across with a grappling hook, but then you're using 2 ropes to get across, so it's a bit easier. Now, the more you do that process, the more you're building a bridge, a very sturdy bridge that you can walk across without any difficulty each time you throw the ropes across. And that's the equivalent of forming what is described in, again, it's an analogy, as muscle memory. It's not muscle memory. You're actually making the neural connections in your brain stronger so you can perform that action better because of your repetition of that action. So you've formed stronger neural connections in your brain to perform that action. So it's absolutely based on your knowledge, your understanding, your experience, your development of those actions, as opposed to your breathing, which you don't need any practice in.
Which is my point, because you're creating a super neuron highway. And when you're learning something for the first time, it's step by step, baby step, etc., just like you said. And then what happens is it becomes automatic eventually. It can't be automatic at first because you haven't learned it. Once it's automatic, it behaves much like the autonomic system, is my point.
Well, you're wrong. Hold on. Stop. That's where we're saying you're wrong. Because no, that you're not equivocating. You're drawing a false analogy or a false equivalence, between these two things. You don't have to learn how to breathe.
No, I said much like. I'm not saying in the crux of how it is. I'm saying that when an athlete is in the zone or finds that perfect place where his skill or her skill is shown, they often are being interviewed by the sports announcer and say, what was going on? You were on fire. And the athlete says, I don't know. I was just, everything was just happening.
Right.
And so his consciousness is not aware of what was happening, although he knew what was happening, but it was happening to him rather than by him, is my point.
No, that's wrong. No, I'm not having that. Hold on, Arwin. That's incorrect. No, he absolutely was conscious of what he was doing.
It's not.
Oh, God. He was conscious of what he was doing.
No, one at a time. Go ahead, Nathan. Why is
he was conscious of what he was doing. He was very much in the zone, mentally, in his mind. So that's mental.
No, you're missing the point.
Hold on, mental and consciousness, these are two different things effectively in this type of process, okay? So when you learn things, what is that? Well, when you learn things, when you train a skill, it requires your conscious attention. You got to kind of be aware of what you're doing, the rhythm of everything, that it goes well, and that it works. But when you eventually then learn that, you no longer require your consciousness to busy itself, and muscle memory is what is then gonna take over. So it is very close to your conscious, and your conscious could pick up onto something happening, on some kind of thing that might be wrong, out of place. But overall, it doesn't require your conscious personal attention. And in the moment, in the zone, especially sporters, they really focus on like a vision often to inspire them, to give them extra energy instead. That's what they do with their consciousness
That's
in
nonsense.
that moment.
No, sports professionals use a technique called visualization, where they go through the process of what they're going to do and how they're going to do it over and over and over again to help their cognition, their mental processing, to do it in a way that seems more automatic. But that absolutely requires sentience and consciousness and intelligence and attention to what's actually going to be, and this is the crucial bit, done. Because at some point you've got to go through what you've just described. If you're the runner, you've got to take into account that there might be a slightly uneven piece of ground that you're running on. You're not paying attention to necessarily, although this isn't true either, your breathing, because that process is going to happen automatically. Well, let's not use that. Your heart rate, again, that's probably not true either. To a certain extent, you can control that mentally.
Yeah. Okay, hang on.
But you're not interacting with the processes with your conscious. You're just being aware of what's going on. Your actual focus is more on the strategies of your surroundings, of the responding to what your body is going to do and all that. See?
Okay, fine, I agree. 10th, you've got a point beyond this, though, beyond this nitpicky detail about your equivocation between muscle memory and conscious thought and unconscious actions of lungs and hearts and all the rest of it. There must be a point beyond this, though, because otherwise we'll be in the weeds forever.
No, my point was when Babs was talking about when he, why do things behave the way they do, up and down and all of this stuff. And so obviously it's by design. And much like we see in life, so many things we have to learn on a conscious level, and that's by design, because you can't learn it unless, as Arwen articulately explained, it's a step-by-step until you learn it. And then eventually you learn it, and then it becomes automatic, because like when you're driving your car, if it's stick shift, for example, if anybody's done a stick shift, you have to learn a stick shift, how to push the clutch and all that, so you're not jerking the car around. Finally, you get a fine tune. Next thing you know, you're talking to your friend in the car, eating a hamburger with one hand and shifting, and it's all automatic. And so life is geared that way as well. It's designed for us so that we can have an existence, so that it can be that balance you were talking about. But
right,
it was just a thought.
Right.
Chaos of every action.
Hold on. What do you mean automatic? No, you've gone through the process of acquiring knowledge, and then you have knowledge, not automatic reflex.
No,
knowledge.
It becomes automatic. It's
that's
not automatic
knowledge.
at first. That's, I mean, if everything was back to how you were a baby, we'd never grow up. I mean, things have to go automatic.
I think we are really in agreement here. It's more like a matter of perspective that we might be off a little with one another's view on this.
No,
it takes a lot less thinking would be a better way to describe it.
You see, we've got all these words from Brian, like thinking.
Is because it's the reason you can do it in automatic is because you have the knowledge.
Exactly.
That is knowledge.
Exactly.
Right.
No one's denying that.
Thinking is a conscious act. Knowledge is something that's just there that you attained.
Yeah, and then you've got to utilize it. But hold on. Then you've got to actually utilize it. That's why I said this is the critical bit. Then you've got to do. So the application of the knowledge is the running down the track, the doing your job you're really good at. Me, it's debating people. But they're no different. It's no different to me going into an automatic mode where I can rattle off a debunking to something that's been asserted, to a runner going down the track. It still requires knowledge, not an automatic process.
Nobody's denying
no one's denying that.
Denying that part. This is about what the consciousness is busying itself with in the moment.
Yes.
Yeah, but what goes against that is
we're in
tiredness.
agreement. It's just we have a different perspective to this specific case here.
Yeah, but you have to take tiredness into account, because when you're tired, everything is harder to do.
How many of you have driven your car, arrived at a location, and said, "How did I get here?"
Hold on. I know about being an autopilot in my car, but I've still got to press the clutch pedal. Go on, Quantum Eraser. What did you want to say?
You're all on shrooms.
Thank you for the ad, Tom. We're all on shrooms. Anything useful, though?
a compliment?
Negative.
Negative. Okay, thanks for that.
Is that Portabella? Is that the Portabella version of Sherm's?
I took it as a compliment.
So
Look, this is a load of Shih Tzu or shiitake. I got that wrong. I said the dog.
Shiitake mushrooms are great.
I should have said shiitake. Damn it, got the joke wrong.
I'm trying to figure what you were trying to say.
This is a load of shiitake.
You get one boom for that.
That was so good.
Shiitakes are great.
Oh God.
Hey, no blasphemy, please.
Do you not? Does your spirit not learn how to do things through your body?
What's the spirit?
Well,
It's what? It's who you are. It's you. It's your electricity, your personal electricity.
You mean my straw man that I have to sign off for the rates at?
Well, it's not the straw man. It's you. I mean, it's without that, your body wouldn't do anything. Without
Just
you,
feel
your
the
body wouldn't do
ether,
anything.
Nathan. Feel the ether.
What's ether?
You're
Hold on. What's ether? How do I feel it?
Oh, Nathan. I was just joking.
Oh, I didn't.
Don't,
say
oh, Nathan, you said it.
I'm not ether bashing. If you can show me ether, I'm all for it, man. I'm open to this stuff. I was open to it being a sphere, you know.
Okay.
So
I think Adam may have some ether in a jar.
that's a fart.
No, actual ether. It's called ether.
I'm pretty sure he's
They
got a
use,
fart.
use it. What is it? To make people fall asleep really quickly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So there you go, ether.
I know what you're talking about. You're talking about what they used to use in like 1900s to put people under, like as a, what would you call it? A general anaesthetic?
Like chloroform.
Like chloroform, yeah. General anaesthetic.
Yeah.
Put people under to cut them up. Ether. Also abused in the 20th century by drug addicts.
No doubt.
Did it come in a container?
Yes.
It came on a cloth when it was handed to me.
They store it in glass because it is very. It evaporates very easily.
Not
Like
ether,
alcohol.
but chloroform. I remember first hearing the word chloroform on Red Dwarf, and he's been taken over by a computer chip in his neck. So someone's remote controlling him, and the only way they can stop him from shooting at him is to knock him out. So he can still, he's conscious, so he's talking to his crewmates and saying, "Just knock me out," because he's shooting at the ship by remote control, if that makes sense. Anyway, he says to him, "You may feel a distinctly unpleasant sensation of chloroform, sir." And then he puts this cloth over his face and obviously knocks him out.
Nice.
I think it was in the Cider House Rules as well. So there's a movie called The Cider House Rules, and they're performing illegal abortions on runaways, and the way they put them under is put a little mask over them, put 2 or 3 drops of ether onto the mask, and that puts them under.
Have you noticed that we went through the pre-show, the actual show, and now the after show? No ballers, and it was pleasant.
There's been ballers here though, and they've been off mute. They are here,
Maybe they're under ether because they ain't talking.
but they're still here.
Well,
they're cowards.
Then.
I don't have to call them cowards. They might just be, there's going to be a lot of change at the moment. There's a lot of people waking up to the nonsense in the media. There's a lot of people that are going to be waking up to the nonsense in their reality. So, a lot of people give the ballers grief, right? But my overall attitude is they're here. Now, if they were full-on blue pill, they wouldn't be here. They'd be getting on with their lives happily on their sphere. Here, They're going through the first stage of loss, anger, or is it denial? It doesn't matter.
I don't think so, Nathan. I don't think so. I think guys that could come virus and all of these other guys, Rumpus, they are still in delusional land.
You can't. Rumpus is different to a cum virus. I don't agree. I think a cum virus is here for the reasons I've given. Rumpus is here for different reasons that I'm not even going to speculate about.
Okay.
He's when he says I'm here to learn, I believe him.
His mouth says something different, though.
Yeah, that's cognitive pain, which we express here often. We're not, in a light-hearted way, saying share your pain when they're getting angry with us, or when I'm getting angry with them. It's apathy. It's me showing that I can appreciate their frustration by trying to drill it into them. Not because I care whether or not they leave. I know there's an audience paying attention to it, many of which may be in exactly the same frame of mind. Going, no, gravity, gravity, gravity! Screaming it at their YouTube screen. Share your pain. Well, many of them have, I'm not going to mention any particular names, but people have told me in comments and emails how they were a baller and they were full of rage, etc., etc. Now they're not, because they've appreciated it. So the people who are here, they're here for a reason. So yeah, they've been programmed and wired to behave in a certain way. Their first port of call is to ridicule us. They'll always fall back on it as well, till they break their own programming, and then they go, oh shit, I've got bigger things to worry about now. They might even concern themselves with the fact that everyone else's programming is as hideous as theirs was while they were in our opposition. Now, some of them won't. Most of them will just try and forget that, put it as a skeleton in their closet and move on with their obvious and observable flat reality. People are all the same in their programming. We've all come through the same ringer. So, you've got to have some empathy for these people. Don't just say, he's just a bastard. He's saying it's a globe. Well, yeah, it may be still in his cognition a globe to him. So have a bit of empathy for them. And when you directly question a cum virus, I know he's listening to this, he said he was here to learn. People don't typically spew 100% lies all the time. Quite the contrary. There's the odd lie that they'll drop in a moment of frustration, confusion, whatever. But on the whole, people on the whole are telling the truth. And I think when he says he's here to learn, I believe him.
Yes.
Yeah, but they're all on chat talking away. Zanuck, they think mass. Remember, they think mass is a mole. So yes, in their world, kilos of stuff are different weights. They're still talking their nonsense.
Some of them are there because keeping other people with the same programming as them helps their programming stay intact. So they've got to convince others around them that we're talking nonsense. Well, yeah, that's why it's a debate. That's why I picked the show. It's always going to be that way. The Western world has a heliocentric religion. So, we're in the minority. They're always going to be wanting to keep their programming. But they're here. If their programming was intact, if their wiring wasn't faulty, they wouldn't be here trying to convince whoever's watching that shitty chat go by what's what. They wouldn't need to. They'd know. They'd be comfortable in their world.
They'd be playing with the lightsabers. They'd be out.
Nathan.
Because that's what they do.
Yeah.
Nathan.
Yes, go on,
At best, you've debunked their programming.
We've just shorted it. It's not. We haven't.
The best.
No,
I think the biggest difference between some. Sorry.
That's all right. That's a correct statement. At best, we've just shorted out their wiring a little bit, but they can reprogram it. The whole point of the heliocentric model is to constantly affirm the programming, barrage you with it non-stop. So once you're established in that way of being, you can repair your programming. If there's a few short circuits here and there, and the way they've been told to reprogram is to suppress the people who are trying to fry their programming. That's us. So they're only going through their natural motions when they ridicule and try and oppress us. Well, so you just got to accept that. You were once there. All of us were.
It's like going to the dentist for the first time and they send you home with a lollipop. They come to Dr. Nathan and they go home with a stuffed black swan.
I think the biggest difference between somebody like Zanuck and somebody like Virus is Zanuck would never say, I'm here to learn. not even in jest would he say that.
Precisely.
Whereas
Exactly.
I can give him some type of props for saying that. Even though the method he kind of used, like he came in fighting us about it, and then after being destroyed, saying, I want to learn, though. Well, maybe that wasn't the greatest technique, but at least he had the fortitude to say that, right? But Zanuck would never say that. Or Rumpus would definitely never say that.
That's the standard I look for too. Exactly. An ounce of humility is all I'm looking for. And based on that ounce of humility he gave us, I'm like, that's enough for me. Now, I could be proven wrong. You could be a complete dick, but I don't think so. He's just adhering to standard programming. And I'm personally, I can't speak for everyone, I'm beyond that now. I just see it as standard automated responses. Because obviously, I agree completely with 10th Man that these are automated responses.
So your show basically is deprogramming them while they're fighting.
Yeah, they're going through the 5 stages of loss and exhibiting all of those symptoms here. So they're showing us that they've got their anger, their bargaining, their depression, all of that stuff. That's what we see.
And there's a little bit of acceptance when certain ones will say, oh, well, maybe the model's bigger. Maybe the radius is bigger. Yeah. So now you're conceding that our point that it's wrong. Yeah, that's the point.
But that's the fallout of the deprogramming stages as well, because once they argue for the programming and they say something illogical, they eventually have to hear themselves saying that illogical statement, and that's their only hope to be deprogrammed.
Yeah, instead they just share their pain, or laugh, or tell us we don't understand. And that's sparks going off in the wiring metaphorically. Cognitive dissonance is metaphorically described as sparks, stuff short-circuiting. And with that, I'll say another huge...
I really don't mess around in the chat, but they are short-circuiting right now.
Hey, can I shout outs to chat? Live stream chat is pretty great, by the way, guys.
I was about to round out, but go ahead.
Live stream chat is pretty great. In Discord, it's usually pretty good shit going, or stuff going on. Yeah, it's pretty
I literally never have it open because I see it as a cesspit. But with that, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who tuned in on the Nathan Oakley Premiering stream for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Again, another massive thank you to today's Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.